Hey everyone, this is Mike Matsuno. Welcome to the Man in Japan channel. Today we're going to do our live stream podcast with Alec Masuda. Some of you may remember Alec. He was on 2 weeks ago and he talked about his roots journey. And actually, some of you may even remember that I had interviewed him back when I was in Thailand, probably back in October or November. And we had done something about the Shimanami. And at that time, because of whether it's the computer power or maybe from Thailand, the connection was not strong. The audio and the video really got kind of glitched up. And so it was hard to listen to. So we're going to redo it today, but this time we should be much better because we know what we're going to talk about as far as the topics. And also, I think more people have asked me about the Shimanami. And so whether you're watching it live or you're watching a recording, I think it'll be very valuable. So please join us today. If you're interested, you like topics about Japan, please subscribe and hit that like button. And we're going to take off here with Alec. 2 weeks ago, Alec had said that this trip to ride the Shimanami was not really the main focus. His focus was to go on this roots journey. And it just so happened that he had an extra day, and if he had completed all of his getting the documents, which he did, he was going to ride the Shimanami. Now, the Shimanami, for those of you who are listening for the first time, it's not an easy ride. A lot of people want to do it in one day. It's 70 to 75 kilometers. And if you add in that last leg to Imabari, that's another 7 to 9 kilometers. So you're looking at 80 kilometers, which is about, I guess, 50 miles, I would guess, somewhere in there. But again, if you're not a cyclist or you haven't been really training, it's really a difficult ride. You know, the rental shop people say roughly maximum 10 hours. So maybe you want to calculate on 10 hours. Of course, other people were much faster. I think Alec did it in a little over 5 hours. So, make sure you gauge. But anyway, welcome back, Alec. How does it feel to be back doing the Shimanami again?
Hey, thanks, Mike. Yeah, round two. Here we go.
So tell us about let's just start about a little bit about it wasn't the main focus of the trip. I mean, because the main focus was to go and get your koseki, your family registry, correct? And then you had some time, and tell me a little bit about that.
Right. So I actually went up to try to get four sets of koseki. Three of them, just by coincidence, happened to come from one area in Yamaguchi. So I spent some time there first. The fourth set was in Hiroshima, and specifically was on this very rural island, Momoshima, which is accessible only by ferry. And you catch the ferry from the Onomichi port. So as I was researching, how to get to this island and where is the city hall, you Google search Onomichi and bike rental, you're gonna see Shimanami, and that's how I accidentally came upon it. And I said, well, I'm right there. I'll set aside a day and see how it goes. So yeah, just by coincidence,
Okay,
happened to be there.
and so you training for it, or were you just in basically good shape and you thought, well, I can do this, or I can at least try to do this? What were you thinking at that time?
Well, I exercise regularly, but not bike riding. But once I decided, hey, I'm gonna uh, plan a day for that ride, I started riding the stationary bike a little bit just to get comfortable again.
I
But
see.
yeah, no specific train. I don't even own a bike right now, so
Wow. And you were able to ride the complete, what, almost 80 kilometers in a little over 5 hours. Is that correct?
yes. But a lot of it, how long you take depends on your agenda, right? If you want to see a lot of sights, make a lot of stops, have meals, then I think that's why they say the 8 to 10 hours at a
Mm-hmm.
leisurely pace. But for me, I only had one day, and I wanted to be back in Onomichi at a certain time. So, for me, it was more just go and come back.
I see. I see. I also forgot to mention earlier about, for those of you interested, you have questions for Alec, please in the comments box, please them out and I will ask Alec the questions. If you have any questions about the Shimanami, we have with us today. Thank you, J-Star. J-Star, I hope the audio and the video is okay. If it is, just let us know. So thank you for joining us, J-Star. And any of you who have any kind of comments or any comments, please put them in the box. So now, let's just get to the nuts and bolts of this. So, when was the date about when? Was it October? What date? And what was the weather like? And what kind of clothes or wear do you need?
Yeah, it was mid-October, and that was part of the reason why I wanted to do it too at that time, because I've experienced Japan in October before, and it's not that hot and it's not too cold. It's right in between, and I was able to do it in uh, light gear. So I had a UV long sleeve, UV like the dry fit type,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had board shorts, and then under the board shorts I wore those protective padded underwear, bike underwear.
Ah, yeah, yeah, the bike pants, right?
So the weather and the season you go will determine what you're wearing. But
And was that
fall and spring is a good time, I think.
enough? Were you when you were riding? Was it too not enough, or did you get hot along the way, or was it just right?
Surprisingly, this past year was warmer than I expected. The
Okay.
morning, the morning hours were ideal from about 8. Well, actually, I started riding about 9, but the first couple hours was really nice. But once it hit afternoon, it got hot.
Okay. Okay. So it will be hot even at that time. Yeah, I think it's still
Yeah.
quite warm.
So
Tell me.
even November, I would think early November would still be good, nice and cool, probably at that time.
Okay. What are some of the things like accessories or things that you think are important to take with you? Because when I did it the first time, outside of my camera gear, I didn't have anything. And after talking to you on our first video, I realized that you really got to prepare and at least have the basic necessities as far as accessory goes. Anyway, I'll leave. What do you think was important to take?
My main concern was navigation. So the phone is essential. But if you're using the phone for navigation, holding it or pulling out of your pocket when you're writing, not the best idea. So one thing I invested in was this phone holder
Oh, I see.
that you can strap to the handlebar.
Uh huh.
Here they
Right,
have a
right there.
camera
Yeah, that's
there.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. And then this one's good because it has an easy clamp. So you can just easily attach your phone. And then it rotates. Once it's attached, you can just rotate the phone to landscape. You can get in there like that.
So of course that's not included at the rental shop, but everyone should just kind of bring their own then.
Oh yeah, this was very helpful to be able to just glance down and see the phone while you're writing. It's for safety reasons too, I think. And this one is because it has that rubber strap. You can put it anywhere on the bike handlebar.
Is that as far as cost? You can get it on Amazon, pretty reasonable.
Yes, I forget the price, but this wasn't too expensive. This was from Amazon.
Okay. What else do you think you need? You talked about the bike pants, right? Or the padded pants.
Oh, yeah. So the bike underwear. So you have bike pants, which can be above the knee and all the way down to the ankles. I think this is more of a bike underwear. So it has
Oh,
these
wow.
gel pads. This is the inside, but you got to wear something over it because the leg opening goes, it's not long at all. So this would be kind of weird to be riding in this. So I wore this under my board shorts.
That looks heavy duty. Is it quite comfortable?
This one, so I tested this out on the stationary bike. That was part of the reason why I was riding the stationary bike too, to see how this works. I didn't want to try it during that ride and then find out, oh, this is not working. So I tested that first,
Uh huh.
and then I
Anything
used it.
else that you think people should have? Any kind of accessory or anything they should take? A map or I don't know what?
I would take along a battery pack just in case. This one is a mini power station. This is for backup power,
Uh
which
huh.
we
Uh
can
huh.
talk about later about
Okay.
my
Okay.
phone problems. What else did I
Okay.
take? Oh, the earphones. So I decided to go with a wireless. So
Okay.
this runs on the Bluetooth.
I see.
But I was debating, you have those earphones where you just attach it to the back of your ear.
Uh huh.
I don't know if you've seen those wireless ones. But the issue with that, if I'm riding and I don't want to use it, if you take it off, like what do you do with it, right? You got to put it in a pocket or you could drop it while
Uh
you're
huh.
riding.
Uh
So
huh.
I went with this one because you wear it over your neck.
Okay.
So if I have the earphones on
Uh huh.
and then I don't need it anymore, I can just let it go.
Ah, I see.
And
Oh,
then
interesting.
it's magnetic too, so
They will lock like that.
yeah, and then it shuts off, saves
Oh,
power.
oh, it shuts off too, huh? Automatically.
Yeah. So once
Oh,
you detach it, then it's connected again. So I didn't want to be fumbling with these individual earbuds and,
I see. I
dropping it
see.
along the way and things. So this one
Okay.
was good.
Okay, great, great. Anything else, or that's pretty much it?
What else did I wear? Oh, shoes. There's no, I don't know if you've seen bikers, they have special shoes with the toe clips
Right,
and things.
right, right.
There's none of that. So you just wear your regular athletic shoes. I chose to wear, because you have to wear a helmet. I wore a helmet liner with a nape to
Okay,
protect your neck from the sun.
okay.
And plus, this one is makes you more visible from the back too, right?
Is that green? Is that color green?
Yeah, this is a fluorescent green.
Okay. Well, so what's happening? Sorry, is on this side. I
Oh,
can just. It's not coming out as green. It's
it's
coming out with.
invisible.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's your green screen color. That's what I
Yes,
think.
that's right.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
that's
exactly.
yeah, it's a
But
fluorescent green
okay.
nape.
Anyway, we understand. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, great. So
Oh yeah,
go ahead.
this is the map you can get when you rent the bike.
Okay, let's talk about the bike rental process because everybody has questions about that. Um, I guess there's several shops that you can rent from, and you chose a certain shop. You can tell us why and how did you go about making the reservation, and how soon in advance do you need to make a reservation?
So reservation, yes, you can do a walk-in. So I was there a day before to do my business at the city hall, right? So I needed a bike for that purpose as well. So the first day I didn't reserve. I had reserved ahead of time for the second day. And that's important because I found out on that first day I wanted a cross bike. And they say, we don't have any already because that's a popular bike and the people who do the ride, they take it. So I had to use the general use bike. So if I didn't do a reservation for the second day, I would have been stuck with that general use bike, and that's night and day because I think the general use bike has 7 gears, but the cross bike has 24 on it.
Is the general use bike also known as mamachari in Japan?
It looks similar. It has that basket, but I think the Mamachari has less gears.
Okay, yeah, less gears or no gears. But basically,
Yeah,
it's a very simple bike, the general use
right.
bike, correct? It has a basket, and when I rode it, when I rode the Shimanami the first time, I chose that because I wanted a basket for my backpack, and it had racks, so I could put my panniers on it, which I didn't know what I was doing, but yeah, and so but as far as power to go up those hills up to the top of the suspension bridges, it's really really a struggle. Okay, so you got a cross bike, which is also known as a hybrid. Is that correct?
I would describe it as a mountain bike, but the tires are like for street.
Okay, okay, like a road bike. Okay, the road bike,
Yeah.
mountain bike, cross. Yeah. Okay, tell us about the process, the rental process.
Yeah, so I would strongly recommend you reserve something. And when you do the online reservation, you have to input your height. So there's different sizes of the bikes. And surprisingly, when I reserved the bike, when I went to pick it up, I thought they were going to say, here's your bike. But what happens is they'll tell you to go select the bike. So they have a section that's reserved. They're going to tell you, go find your bike. So you have to go sit on it and actually test it out, see how it feels. The good thing is that bike rental place, the one, I think that's the one you went to, the one under the parking
Yeah,
structure.
under the parking, the first floor, the parking structure. Correct.
Right. So the parking structure is long. So you can select the bike and actually ride a little bit in that structure to see if it's the right fit. You can test the brakes, the shifters. So I made a mistake of, okay, I found a good bike, and then when I was riding, I was trying to shift some gears, but it wouldn't shift smoothly. But I thought it's because I'm going too slow, right? I'm in a parking structure. I can't go fast enough. So I figure, I'll just use it. But turns out during the whole ride, the shifter wasn't smooth. It was getting annoying especially when you're trying to go up a hill and the chain doesn't get on the right gear. So I would definitely test the bike out because you have the option of choosing the bike.
Yeah, I agree because when I went last year and we were using e-bikes, the problem, not the problem, but we could have tested it out, but we actually didn't because we thought, oh, okay, they must have checked it by before we got it. But I remember one of the gentlemen, Joe said that the shift wasn't happening, and it wasn't going. No, Joe realized when we're riding that it wasn't shifting, and he thought he was doing it wrong, so he was trying to do different things. But it wasn't Joe because the next day we got the same bikes, but another gentleman, Peter, had Joe's bike. And then when he started riding it, he goes, something is wrong. Then I said, try and ride it around and see. And he found out that the bike itself was not functioning correctly. So yes, as you said, for those of you who get a rental bike, be sure to test it out before you ride, because once you're out, if you take a ferry out or you're halfway down the out and you can't come back. So make sure you do test it out. Correct. Great.
You know why too? I was expecting them to hand me a bike. A couple of days before, when I was in Yamaguchi, I rented a bike from a bike shop,
Uh-huh.
which I reserved. So when I went there, they said, "Here's your bike." So okay. So I was expecting the same thing
I see.
for the Shimanami, but you have to go pick yours,
And that's
which
good
is good.
because,
Yeah.
yeah, right. You got a choice, and some may have a different, like a rack, some may not, and things. Um, Anything else about the rental process? Was it simple to go through with the reservation, sign the pay with a credit card, or anything?
So if you do a online reservation, you're gonna have a QR code, and then when you get there, that makes the check-in process really quick. They scan the QR code, and then they tell you go choose your bike, you go test it out. You choose your helmet. They give you a combination lock, so when you stop, to go eat or do something, you can lock up your bike. And then they give you the map,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just tell you where to go down to the ferry launch.
To the ferry launch. Okay. What? Tell us a little bit about the ferry launch and the ferry boat across and the map, maybe.
Yeah, so again, that's it seems simple, but in actuality, there are some unforeseen things that happen. So I went to the nearest launch point, and I thought there was only one launch point, but according to the map, it appears there are three different places you can catch the ferry. So this subsection of the map shows, if you look at the upper left corner,
Mm-hmm.
you can see Onomichi Station there. The
Uh-huh.
bike rental is very close to that.
Okay.
So if you look at the blue dots, you can see there are three paths crossing the water.
I see.
Yeah, so I went to the closest one thinking that's the only one. But according to this map, it looks like you can launch from three different places.
I
So
see.
why
And
does that matter? Okay, so I went to the first one, which is right across the train station. So I get there, there's several other bikers in line, and while we're waiting for the ferry boat to come, I start noticing a bunch of school students. They look like about middle high school age students. And then before I know it, there are dozens of them waiting there as well. So the ferry boat comes. The guy in the front of the line with the bike, he assumes he's gonna get on. So he starts moving forward, and he gets the big from the crew member. And they
uh-huh.
let all the students on first, which filled up the entire ferry. And then zero bikers got on.
Oh,
So I thought, oh wow, okay, well, I'll wait for the next one. So 15 minutes later, the ferry comes again, but during that 15 minutes, because it's right by the station,
yeah.
more students are coming.
Oh, wow.
So we missed the second one too.
Oh,
The second
really?
one was capacity with students. So we didn't get on until the third one. And the third one was a combo. Students and some of us bikers. But I looked behind when we were leaving. There were more students and more bikers still waiting. So in retrospect, what I think, if there are three launch points, I would go to the ones further away from the station because I think the students, they just go to the nearest one and they know
Right.
they have priority.
Right, right, right.
So
Oh,
why walk
interesting.
to the far one, right? So they
Right.
all go to the close one, and now I know it's like, oh wow, I should have went and explored the other launch points.
How long how much time did you lose?
Oh, I would say about 45 minutes.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
And
because
about
we
what
missed
time?
the first two,
Okay.
and then we had to catch the third one. And in between is about 15 minutes or so.
And the rental shop opens at what time? Was it 7, I believe?
Uh, yeah, if it's not winter, I think it's 7. So I
Okay.
went there about 7:30,
Okay.
and then, with the process of testing the bike and everything, I was waiting at the port about 8,
Okay.
but I didn't get across the waterway until about 8:45 because
Ah.
of that situation. So nobody tells you those things, right? There's going to
Right.
be students
No
going
one,
on that
yeah,
ferry.
right. And they would have priority, right? And the timing, which means that anytime after 7:30, I'm sure the students are going to be there. So you got to have a jump on it and be there at opening of the rental shop and test it quickly and get to that first ferry launch before the students, or as you said, go to another launch point, or you're just going to have to wait until everyone goes. So that's kind of the option. Is that right?
Right, right. Plus, so it's a weekday, right? Too. If you're on a
Right.
weekend,
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's different. And then I was there about 8 o'clock. Only had a few bikers.
Uh huh.
They started coming little after 8 in hordes.
Oh.
So I'm guessing their school starts a little later, maybe 9,
Uh huh.
9 o'clock or so.
So okay, so that happens, and then when you get to the other side, then you start riding from there.
Right, right.
And it's the first. I know there's 6 islands. Mukashima was the first island. Any problem or any kind of obstacles along the way?
So my plan was to follow the recommended route, which is the blue line, right? So in my mind, just follow the blue line. But on this map, if you study it, there's actually the recommended route, but it also branches off into alternative routes that you can take. So my plan was just to stay on the easier recommended route, and it worked fine. In fact, I didn't even use my phone for navigation. I just studied the first island, and I made it to the first bridge without any phone navigation. But the second island, when I got to the second bridge, I followed the blue line past the bridge, thinking it was gonna circle back like the first bridge. So the first bridge, I had to go past it, and then it circles back and you go up. So second bridge, I go past it following the blue line, but the blue line is taking me really far past the bridge. So I kept riding, like a fool, like about 10, 15 minutes, like I must have did something wrong. So that's when I realized, okay, I missed the turn to go to the bridge. So after that, I decided to use my phone to help me figure out where I am on this physical map.
And did that
So
work better?
I thought so at first. So you can use the phone in a couple of basic ways, right? You can use it for voice navigation. So you can listen to Siri, okay, turn right over here and whatnot. Or you can use it for just tracking your movement. So I didn't use the voice navigation because if I put in point A and then point B, there's no guarantee the voice navigator is going to know the recommended route I want to
Oh,
go on. So it might tell me to turn here and it might get me there, but that's not the route I want. It might take me on a different route.
right.
So I used it just for tracking to know where I'm going. And then I would compare it to an example. I would kind of know my route based on this,
Uh-huh.
and then I would use my phone tracking to see if I'm actually staying on that same recommended route.
Oh, I see. So using both the phone and using the map to verify that you are on the right path.
Yes, yes. So that worked good. So it took me all the way to the last island with no problems until I realized my phone battery was dying. And that was a surprise because 2 days before, when I did my roots journey ride in Yamaguchi, the phone battery was fine. In fact, when I was done at the end of the day, I had more than half of my battery left. But for
Wow.
some reason, I'm on the last island and then I get the warning at 20%. Well, what's going on? So in retrospect, this is what I think happened. If you use online navigation, so your phone is using data or the internet, I believe that's what drains the battery quickly, as opposed to an offline map. So an offline map is a section of a map where you download it to your phone ahead of time, so
Uh-huh.
the data is on that map already. So if you use the offline map, it's not going to drain your battery, and the GPS still works. It doesn't need internet or cellular data. So you can track or get voice navigation using an offline map, which will conserve your battery by a lot. Because the 2 days before, I had used offline maps, and that's why my battery didn't drain. That's what I think it is.
Is it difficult to use these offline maps and go back to the tracking on the phone?
No? Well, that's why you have to practice a little bit before you go, right?
Okay,
So
okay, okay. You
I,
have to
I
practice.
researched I researched offline maps because in case I lose connection or data, it would still work. But I didn't know about the battery drain. That was a surprise.
Did you have an extra battery with you?
No, so that battery I was talking about.
Right,
I took this on the Roots Journey ride,
right.
but then because I was using offline
Oh,
maps and my battery was still, over half, I figured I don't need this for,
ah,
and that was a mistake
yeah,
because I
yeah.
actually did need it.
Ah, I
So at
see.
the end, when I got off the last island, I think I had about 10%
Wow.
battery life, just enough where I could go back to voice navigation
Uh
so
huh.
I could find the Imabari station.
Wow. Wow. So you made it to your destination with less than 10% battery left.
Yes. And
Okay.
when you know how it is, when you get off that last bridge, you're back to urban
Right.
city, right? And it's very helpful if you have voice navigation there telling you turn left, turn right, and so
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah, it's very confusing, that city of Imabari, because everyone thinks when you get off the bridge, you're in Imabari. You are in Imabari city or county for that matter. But to get to the station and to get to your hotel or ryokan, if you're staying in Imabari or the bus station, that's a whole nother, you need to have some kind of navigation to get there, right?
Right. The blue line doesn't take you all the way to that station.
Yeah, I think that's the big point. Okay, so you get there, it's 5.5 hours later, and so you only intended to stay one day. So did you then what take the train, bus, or how did you get back to where you were going? I'm assuming you went back to Onomichi or Hiroshima.
Right, right. So I tried to do some research on the bus route back, but when you get to that final station,
Uh huh.
there's actually a help desk with bilingual people there.
Right.
So they're all planned out. You can go talk to them, and they gave me a bus timetable, and they told me, okay, if you catch this bus, you transfer here, you'll be back in Onomichi. So I don't know if you can show it, but they give you a bus timetable.
Oh, the bus timetable. Yeah, I can show that. Let me
Yeah,
see.
and that
Can
was
you see?
very helpful.
Okay, let me just put it on. And that was at the
And it,
bus station.
well, the bus station is like a minute, less than a minute to the cycle station. So
Okay.
everything is all in one place. You drop off your bike, you can go to the information desk, you can ask about how to get back. They give you a timetable like this.
Uh huh.
And then the bus station is right there, right
And,
there.
and is there enough English on this bus schedule that anyone can read? I see some circles and things there. Do they mean anything?
Uh, this one, the person helping you will get a highlighter and tell you,
Okay.
okay, you catch this one. So for me, I caught the 310 bus,
Okay.
and that's the express bus to
Oh,
Fukuyama.
oh, you went to Fukuyama. Okay.
No, no, I didn't go to Fukuyama, but the bus is heading there,
Okay.
and it costs 2,300 yen
Okay.
for that leg.
About 17, 18
So
dollars. Okay.
in about 50 minutes, there's a transfer. That's the second column. So
Okay.
you have to transfer to the local bus,
Oh.
which will then take you to Onomichi, which is about half an hour. But if you do the math, the wait time,
Uh huh.
there's a wait time of about half an hour for the transfer. So I would say it's about a little under 2 hours total to get back.
So where did you go back to? You went back to Onomichi, your
Oh,
hotel.
sorry. You know the transfer?
Yeah.
When you do the transfer, it's the same bus stop, so you don't have to go walking around. So you
Oh,
get
okay.
off the express, you wait half an hour, and at that same bus stop, the local bus comes and then takes you to Onomichi. But the good thing is, during that half hour, there's a little, I don't know what they call it, but it's like a convenience store.
Uh
There's
huh.
a toilet, there's restrooms.
Mm-hmm.
You
Like
can
a
get your water or drinks. I ate a small lunch there in that half hour. So the break was actually pretty good.
So from the start to getting to Onomichi, how long did you say it took, including the break?
Almost 2 hours.
Okay, almost 2 hours. Okay, and
But
so
this is what I noticed.
okay,
So the first bus you catch from the cycle station is an express to Fukuyama. Fukuyama is a little bit north of Onomichi. So when I got off to transfer, I was very surprised. I was the only one getting off. Everybody else on the bus stayed on. So I thought I was actually making a mistake at first. Like, what's going on, right? We all
right, right.
started from the same place, and I'm the only one transferring. But this is what I think. All those other people were heading straight to Fukuyama on this express.
Oh,
And
makes sense.
either either they have accommodations in Fukuyama, or they took a train back to Onomichi from Fukuyama.
I see. I see.
I'm not sure if that's faster. That might be a little faster to do it that way, but that's what I think happened.
And after you got to back to Onomichi, you stayed another night, or you picked up your bag and you took off.
Uh, yeah, I stayed that night, and then the next afternoon, I headed back to Fukuoka.
So tell me now. I mean, well, after you did completed it, how did you feel? Did you feel it was a hard ride? Did you feel satisfied that you could do it in such a small amount of time? What did you feel after accomplishing the
Uh,
80 kilometers?
I would say it was a mixed bag because I was happy I did it, but it was tiring because I had ridden um, prior to that. So my first route journey ride was, I would say, about 40 miles. This was
So
a couple of days before.
that's like 60 kilometers, right?
And then the day before that, I think I rode about 15 miles just to get to the city hall
Wow.
because it was on an island that wasn't accessible by train, and I didn't want to rent a car or ride the bus, so I used a bike. And the bike rental was, off of the island. So the first day to get my Koseki, I had to ride a round trip about, I would say, yeah, 12, maybe 12 to 15 miles that first day. The second
Wow.
day was the Roots journey ride, which was about 40.
Wow.
Third day was maybe only 2 miles or so within Onomichi City. So, yeah, my energy wasn't all there for the last day, but it worked out in the end. But yeah, it was tiring because
Wow. So
that was a lot of
already,
mileage.
yeah, you already had done so many miles, 15, 30, 45, 47, and then you come on and do the big one, 80 kilometers roughly, all within the 3 or 4 days. You had to be quite tired, as well as the stress, I would say. Like if you're doing the Shimanami, you know you have to get to where you're going, and you don't know where you're going except with the maps and the tracking. So it has to be quite a little bit stressful.
Yes. But the good thing with Shimanami, because it's I don't know, do they call it a national bike route?
I'm not sure,
It's
but it's
but
one of the
it's
most
a
famous.
planned,
Right,
it's a
right.
very well planned route, right, for people. So I knew in the back of my mind, if I don't make it to Imabari for whatever reason, run out of energy, I knew the safety net that was built into this whole route. You can drop off your bike at several different locations along the way and then catch the bus back. So I knew that I didn't have to make it. So that was, some relief, right? The pressure, like knowing I could stop beforehand.
I think that's good to know for a lot of people because they feel like if they don't know that they feel they have to get there. And like I did the first time I did it, I thought I had to get there. I only got halfway. Um, and then I had to figure it out through talking to different tourist centers. But that information right there is quite important. Now I know there are not that many. There's probably like three, maybe four throughout the route. So you have to make sure that you can get to one of those routes, I think, as well as some people, and this is what I recommend, is taking the ferry. So like let's say you can take the ferry and get back to Onomichi. So you ride out to a ferry stop and you ride back, or you ride out to Imabari ferry stop and you ride, and that takes you to Imabari. The two ferry systems from Imabari and Onomichi never cross over, so they're different routes. But yes, I think that having a backup plan just in case one of your people, if you're riding with, is not feeling well or cannot ride, as well as it's a good thing just to have in case you're not feeling or you get injured or you fall or something to have that backup. What do you think?
Right, right. And that's why this map is so well done. It has specifically where you can drop off your bike
Oh, it
if you
does.
don't
I didn't even know
get
that.
to the end. Yeah, this map has all the important things. It tells you where the toilets are.
Oh, it does. That's really important for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, for me, a couple of times I just use isolated bushes, but
Right.
I
Yeah.
knew I did pass by some designated restrooms. So using the toilet is not an issue on this ride. And there's convenience stores along the way. There are the road station.
Right.
There are three main road stations. So you have all these built-in options in case something happens. This map even lists
Can you
a
show the
full.
map a little bit to the people?
I'm trying to find the.
This is the map that the rental cycle gives you, correct? And that's free, of course.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see this part, but
Yeah.
one side has the map,
Uh huh.
the other side has information. You're talking about safety.
Right.
They give you the number for police and the ambulance on
Okay.
this
Okay.
as well. And
I hope.
the
I
bike,
hope they
the
speak. Yeah.
bike
Go ahead.
rental, the bike rental place. Before you leave, I asked them, what happens if I get a flat tire
Right.
along the way? They give you a number to call, and I'm guessing. I'm glad I didn't have to call, but I'm guessing when you call, they're gonna find the nearest drop-off place and likely send somebody out, or they might tell you, okay, if you're close enough, take your bike to that station and likely they'll fix your tire or you exchange the bike. So all this is just built in, well planned.
I think the only challenge for any of that, Alec, would be that how well the people who you talk call speak English and can understand you.
That's right. I'm
Because
assuming I'm assuming they understand English. Yes.
right, right. Some places have English speaker. Some people, but my experience over the Shimanami is they're quite limited to who actually can speak English well. And so maybe that would be the only thing that may be a little bit of a challenge. But yes, as you said, on that map, and I didn't know it was so comprehensive, it gives you the all the different information. For example, I speak some Japanese, but I always worry if I have to call the ambulance, I don't know where I am. So like what do I tell them? I'm like in the middle of the Shimanami, or maybe I don't know how they would track me. So or even if I knew where I was, the Japanese I would something something gun something something ku, and like they're usually long addresses in the country. So I think that would be kind of the only challenging part would be language. What do you say?
That yes, yes. And I guess that's where the phone tracking will help too, right? At least on the map specifically I'm here, and then you could zoom in to your phone and get more details about your specific
Ah,
location. So that's another issue, it's safety too with the phone.
if you were to do it again, what would you do differently, or if anything, would you do differently?
Well, definitely I would track with the offline map.
Okay.
Offline, right? For battery life, for sure. Definitely that.
Take an extra battery, of course.
Yeah, extra battery. As far as what I wore, I think I was fine. Some options you might consider gloves. And if I were to do it again, I might consider wearing a hat with a brim.
Like a visor.
Yeah, or maybe a visor to go under the helmet because in the afternoon that sun was beating down on my face. And if I had a
Oh.
visor
Uh-huh.
under the helmet, that would have helped a lot for the afternoon.
What about sunglasses?
Oh yeah, 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 definitely. sunglasses, for sure. And then
And what?
water. You're gonna need water, right? But you don't need to pack a lot of water on yourself. There is a on the bike. There's a water bottle holder, so you can put your water bottle there. And because there's so much options to get water along the way, I just went with one simple water bottle that you get at a convenience store. And every so often, I would just buy a new one along the way. People who like to drink while they're riding, you would have to bring your own squeeze bottle because you don't want to be riding and trying to take off the cap and trying to drink while you ride. So bikers they have the squeeze type, right?
Right, right, right.
On hand. So if you prefer that, then you got to bring your own. They don't give you a water bottle, but there is a water bottle holder.
When I was riding parts of the Shimanami, I didn't, they're like at the beginning, I didn't see that many convenience stores or places to get water, like Mukashima, the first island, and then the second one too. Were you, were you, like, I know, okay, bathrooms, toilets, convenience stores. Did you find enough water access points that for you it wasn't any problem?
Yeah, I remember stopping at a 70, I think it was a 7-Eleven along the way. There's vending machines that you wouldn't think would be there, but you see vending machines along the way too. And then once you get to that third island, I think,
Right.
from there you have the three
Ikujima?
road
I don't know.
stations, right?
Right, right,
The road stations are fully equipped. I mean, you can have lunch and everything there.
right.
So
They're almost like tourist stops. That's why, yeah, right.
you will not be in any need of like, oh no, where am I gonna get water from?
Okay. And then you talked a little bit about toilets, but for gentlemen and men, it's easy. You can go anywhere. But let's say for women who are riding the Shimanami, were there enough toilets? Now, my past group that I took said yes. I just wanted to get what your take on it was.
Okay, so I'm looking at the map here. The first island, yeah, I see one on the next island. I see about at least 4 or 5
Okay, okay.
along the way. Yeah, so even for the women, like I said, it's a planned bike route, so it's not like you're riding in some rural area and you do everything on your own with water and food and restroom and things like that.
And do you think of course, it all depends on how much you train and all. Is one day too difficult for the average person who has not exercised much, or is it possible? I mean, I know it's kind of a general question, but
Yeah, that's tough to say. It all depends on how much you want to see along the way, I think.
okay.
The more you want to see, the longer you're going to take. And at some point, you might have to say, I need to break this up into maybe 2 or 3 days. But if you just want to go down and back, yeah, it would come down to your experience riding bikes, physical condition, but you could do the electric assist bikes as well, right? So
Yeah,
you
on
have
my last trip,
options.
we had a couple of the ladies. They took the battery assisted because it was more comfortable. It had a basket, and the seat wasn't as hard, and it was hard on their their rear end when they tried the e-bike. So they switched. The problem was, I think there were only three main gears for the battery assisted, whereas the e-bike had like what is it, 21 or 30? I can't remember exactly. So big
What do you mean
difference in
the
actual.
cross bike?
The well, the e-bike, I think, and then it's a cross bike, and then it's the battery assisted is the not the
Kind of like a
same as the
hybrid.
e-bike. Yeah, but it didn't have that the gears only had like three main gears. It wasn't that easy to ride. In fact, they were pedaling so much like this, even at the hardest gear, that they were getting more tired. But it was more comfortable bike, whereas the e-bike was, of course, the gold standard for those who need help. And it was just that it wasn't as comfortable because you kind of are leaning over like this, right? And then after that, for regular, no battery powered would be the cross bike, I would guess. And then at the bottom would be the general use of the mamachari, something
Yeah,
like that.
definitely don't get stuck with the general use bike.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah,
you got to do the reservation
yeah, yeah,
ahead of
yeah.
time. And then I
Okay.
think you can probably speak to this, Mike. The e-bike, there's something about the battery life
Right, right.
that restricts how long you can use it, I think.
Yeah. They say it's no problem to get from one end to the other, the 70 or 80 kilometers that you ride. But if you have it, there's three speeds, right? If you have it on the sport, which is it's the easiest to ride, you may not have enough battery at the end of the trip. And so what happens is on my group, everybody was worried that they don't want to burn out the battery or use all the battery. So at the end of the trip, they have nothing. So they're trying to gauge it. So you have to kind of play with it, and then you can see on the gauge how much battery power is left, depending on how far you're going to go. If you're going to go 80 kilometers, then you have to really kind of watch. Like if you're going to do just maybe you do like the middle one, I think it's eco, norm, and then sport or something. And then you kind of gauge how much to use. But I think that was also a bit of a worry was how much, how long can I keep it on the easiest function, which was sport, I think.
Could you, if let's say the worst case scenario, your battery is dying out, but you still want to go, can you exchange the e-bike at a station and then get a new one?
They told me you cannot, but halfway is that point. I don't know if you remember Tatara, that bridge, the Tatara bridge. It's like a tourist stop. You can charge the battery you have there. So let's say you stop, you have lunch, you plug it in. I think minimum half an hour to an hour, but they're not going to give you a new battery, and they're not going to give you a new bike. So you do have to kind of navigate and make sure that you have enough power to get where you're going. Now you could drop it off there, but then you got to get back some other way, right? Maybe you can get another reservation for another e-bike. That's the other problem. You can only get one reservation at a time. But that means that if they have the bike available, because when I
Right.
went on my first trip, I wanted to switch out to an e-bike. They said, sorry, no e-bikes. And so I was stuck in the middle of the entire Shimanami. And that's when I left the bike parked there, locked. And I took the bus to Imabari because that's where my ryokan, my lodging was. Took the bus back and then rode back to Onomichi. So you got to be a little bit creative at times because it's, as much as it is set up, it's not as cut and dry where it's there is some thinking involved, right?
I would think for cost reasons, their inventory of e-bikes are much lower than, let's
Yes,
say,
yes,
the
they are.
cross bike.
And that's why if you're going to make a reservation for an e-bike, you need to make it way in advance because they only have so many. And if you
Right.
can't get an e-bike and you're older or you haven't ridden much before or you're a family maybe, it's going to be really, really hard. So, you know, you have to really do some thinking, and I think that but that's part of the challenge too, but as you said, it's still relatively safe because you're on a main path, and hopefully if something happens people would stop, or so you can at least get some help or something. I always worried that if somebody had an injury or something along the way and I have to call the ambulance and explain where I am and then what to do, that's the only time I felt a little bit maybe would be a little bit of a challenge, as well as a little bit not comfortable that I have the confidence to do what it takes. But again, that's usually not the case.
And then because you went with a group, that's even, more reason to make sure if the whole group's going to be using a e-bike, you've definitely got to plan ahead and reserve it
Right,
so that everybody has one
right,
on that
exactly.
day. Yeah.
In fact, that exact scenario came up where when I made the reservation, I had needed 8 e-bikes. They had 4. So I had to go to a private company called Giant. They make the Giant bikes. And so the rental bike that you and I rented from, the more reasonable one was 4. And I had to go to the other Giant. And then there are problems with the price being very different. Maybe this is 10,000 yen and this one was 15. It wasn't that close. It was like maybe a third more. And the biggest problem was the rental shop that we went to opens at 7. Giant opens at 9. So if you got a group and you all
Oh,
have e-bikes, then you can't go together. You're gonna have to make people wait 2 hours, or send them ahead and then follow them. So we were fortunate in the end that I went back to the shop that you and I had rented from, and they had an opening, and I said, we'll take that. And a couple of the guys are strong enough that they could do regular bikes, like a cross, and they took the cross bike, and that's what we were able to. So we could all leave together, because the time the shop opens is a big thing, and 7 o'clock is the earliest you're gonna get, and that's the one that we rented from. That's in the parking lot, but other private enterprises like Giant and others, they open at 9. So you get there at 9, you got to do all the paperwork, you got to sign this, you got to do this. It's probably 9:30, maybe 9:45 if you're lucky that you get out. You already lost a large part of the
yeah.
morning, right?
And then you're mainly riding in the heat
Yes,
in the
yes,
afternoon.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, especially if you want to do it in one shot. I think that's the whole thing. If you want to do it in one shot, it's a lot more thinking involved, and you got to plan, and don't plan on stopping long for lunch or whatever. You just keep moving, right?
Yeah. I made many stops, but they were short. So before I crossed each bridge, I took a picture, and then all the water stops and toilet breaks. I didn't eat lunch at any road station. I just,
Kept going.
pretty much, yeah, kept going.
I see.
So,
Wow.
yes, going solo versus with a group
Uh-huh.
involves some planning ahead. There are trade-offs for both. Yeah.
Did you have any problem with not knowing Japanese?
No, because the only time I had to actually talk to somebody was at that Imabari cycle station, and as I mentioned, they have a information desk with bilingual workers there.
So no Japanese, you could do what you did. Not, I mean, not at your athletic ability, but basically go through that process. Maybe get an e-bike, and maybe take longer than what you took, but it's all very possible. Correct?
Yes, yes.
Wow. Is there
A lot
any
of built-in safeguards.
Okay. Is there any advice, or anything that you'd like to say to people who are thinking about doing the Shimanami, whether they should try or not try, or any suggestions?
Uh, I would say, yeah, plan ahead. It always makes it easier. And even when you plan ahead, there will be some unexpected things that happen, right? Like, for example, the students. I planned ahead, but I wasn't expecting that. The navigation with the phone, I didn't know the battery drain on offline versus online maps, those kinds of things. So the more you plan, the less you got to worry about. And you don't necessarily have to stay in Onomichi, I think. So, like I mentioned, those people who didn't get off when I was coming back for the bus transfer,
Right, right.
I'm wondering if they stayed in Fukuyama for their accommodation, and then they caught the 20-minute train to Onomichi and then started there. So
And
you
that's
don't
very
necessarily, yeah, have to
right.
have your accommodations in Onomichi.
And that's very possible, because a lot of times in the busy season where it's spring for sakura, or in the fall when people want to ride the Shimanami, there's not enough accommodations in Onomichi. And that happened to us. And when that happened, that's the reason that we booked an Imabari. and we did the reverse. We came out from Imabari. You can do that. You don't have to start from Onomichi. You can go the opposite way. There tends to be more hotels in Imabari, I think, because it's not as popular and as easy access as it is from Onomichi. So again, yes, that might be a possibility. People say in Fukuyama, but you got to plan for the train and you do your ride and you got to get back to Fukuyama, and you just have to make sure that. And if you do it in one shot, that might be a little bit of a push, taking a 20-minute ride and up. But again, it just depends on the condition that you're in as well as the bike that you choose. And that's really important, right?
I just thought another concern, the season. So if you go when it's closer to winter,
Mm-hmm.
the sun sets much earlier, right? So if you're gonna take 10 hours, if you're budgeting 8 to 10 hours
It's going to be
and the
dark.
sun is setting at 5,
Yeah, you're not going to make it.
you don't want to be riding in the dark.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And that was when I went in November the first time. That's what my biggest worry was. I don't want to be riding in the dark. And some of those bikes had lights, but a lot of them didn't. So, if you don't have lights and you're going to ride, that would be crazy. So, yes, Mac, some people might want to bring their own light that you just put around and clip on so you have something just in case. But you got to be very, very careful about that, I think.
Yeah.
So, anyway, lastly, Alec, what? So now, thank you for sharing with that. I don't see that many people with questions, but I'm sure on the recording, people will watch this. Thank you very much for talking all and sharing all about the Shimanami, because you gave points that I have never even thought about myself, and I've gone 3 times so far, and I thought, like, oh yeah, and even about the online offline maps and all that, I never even thought about that, or even the padded underwear or pants, I never used that either, and yeah, it was a little sore. But what about you? So what's the future for you now that you've done the family registry, you did the roots journey, you did the Shimanami? Are you going back to Japan, or are any plans for the future?
Not sure. Right now, I'm working on sharing the information. So after I got the translations, I did one presentation to the immediate family. Then I did a second one to one of my first cousins. And then next month, I think I'm going to do a third one to a different side of the family. And so right now, that's where I'm at. As far as going back, not sure. If I knew the specific grave site, that would be interesting.
Oh,
You
go
know,
back to find the grave, the Ohaka. Uh-huh.
yeah, the actual grave site. And then there is one other village area in Nagasaki that I learned about only after the translation, that, oh, my ancestor was actually born there and then moved to Yamaguchi. So who knows? I'm just gonna let it,
Mm-hmm.
happen naturally, like how I did the first time.
Okay. Well, it seemed your planning and your the way you look at things has taken you to many different places, and you've been successful basically at everything that you've attempted in Japan. So, congratulations for that, and very well done. But again, thank you so much for sharing with everyone, because it's those little points like the accessories and about the ferry boat, the students, all those little things that no other YouTube video really talks about. So I really appreciate you sharing, and with people who are thinking about it, because the people who'll be watching this video are people who are interested in doing it in one shot, and it's that one time, and so every bit of information they can get will make their trip that much easier and much more, hopefully more successful. So thank you very much, Alec. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Mike. Happy to share.
Wow, appreciate it. So thank you, and thanks all of you for listening. I don't see any more comments and anything, but if you do have questions, please comment on the recorded video that will eventually be on, and then I can always ask Alec and see if we can just, if I can't answer it, I might ask him for the answer and then we can get the answer to you. But for now, this is Mike from the Man in Japan channel, signing off here I'm still in Honolulu, Hawaii. I'll be going back to Japan at the end of this month, March 25th, and I'll do a couple of live streams from Japan. But again, thanks to all of you for watching and for being here today. Alec, thanks again. Really appreciate it. And good luck with the family roots sharing project that you're working on.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Okay. Thanks, Alex. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.